There. Okay. So that part of their torso is looking pretty good. Okay. So now I'm going to work on the other hand and finish this area, and then I'm going to start working on their legs and hips. So let's see. Okay, so I think I've drawn the hand. There's something about this hand I'm not in love with. Okay, so first of all, if I draw a line around the edge, I think I drew mine too thick. The hand should be like here. That's the shape. So I drew my finger, one of my fingers is too far down there. So this shape comes up. I'm going to move this finger slightly up. Okay. So the bottom pinky is angled down. I think I may have drawn that too long. This finger is right here. This finger.
¡Ay, qué cómodas! Y los platos están lavados. Ay, Lolita. Ay, Lolita.
That's my husband in the background. Okay, so that's looking better than it had been. So now I'm going to start thinking about shadows and laying in. Hola.
Hola, amor.
Hola, guapo. Estoy grabando un video.
Dime.
Sí, pero no estoy en vivo, lo voy a subir después a...
Claro.
De hecho, ya no puedo hacerlo en vivo porque estoy como castigado. Okay. So I'm sort of laying out the edges of all these. Like I'm committing myself to what I'm doing with the hand and fingers right now. And as you can see, it's the same as the rest of the figure. It's like I start with a light line, I slowly work my way towards a darker line until I get to a really dark line at the end, which is what I'm committed to. Okay, so now what's going to give this hand a feeling of reality is the shadows. So I'm going to lay in, there are these dark shadows where the fingers are curving in. So all of these curves, I'm going to lay them in, and that's going to help the fingers feel like they're twisting, like they're moving inwards. There's shadows on the knuckles. You can see veins on their hands. I'm going to pull out just a touch of white there to make their fingers feel like they're moving upwards and then down again. Okay. And now I'm going to introduce black around the edges of these fingers to help define where the finger ends and the shadow begins. There. Okay. So now I'm going to finish the arm and the torso. And so between the hands and the face, those are the two hardest parts. Just a little bit of shadow on the bottom. Shadow curls around. So shadows like this, I think about it as a full shape. So I think I drew that line too far out. I'm going to move it in. Okay, and now I am going to draw the subtle shadows on their shoulders and arms. Just a little bit of shadow here, there, a little bit of shadow on the inside of their chest. Okay, so there's their torso so far. I'm going to erase just a touch of highlights on their arms and shoulders. Their arm is angling, there's like an angle, and on this side of the angle is catching more light than their hand is. So I want to indicate that. Just these touches of highlights. And then the side of their arm, I think I'm actually going to erase there because it's quite light. And it's not too close to their brassiere, so I don't think I'm taking away from the effect of satin on the brassiere. Like that. Okay. So now I'm going to think about their legs and capturing the outline of that, and then I can come back and do the shadows on their hips. So it's like I said earlier, it's like I can't draw anything unless I've drawn the part next to it first. So it's like the hips I think are good. I mean, I think they look pretty good, but for all I know, I'm wrong. And when I'm drawing the legs, I'm going to discover that I had drawn them at the wrong angle or something. Something's weird about them. So so I need to lay out the legs first so that I can be certain that my my hips are good. So I'm going to look at this again and think about the measurements. So this is this point in their hand. There's this point in their hip. This point mid thigh. This point that is just below their knee, and then right here on their ankle. So I'm going to look at these lines on these points on my drawing, which they've kind of like rubbed out. So I'm going to redraw some of those. So that was the head. I'm going to do them also along the line of their lips again, because I want to make sure that they're helping me to understand the central line too, because they're the movement is so beautiful of the move of their hip. So there's a dot here, a dot here, a dot here, each dot measuring a head down, and then the last one would be at the bottom of the page. Okay, so let's see here. There, so it's this point right here. There, this point right there, and then at the bottom of the page. Okay, so these are giving me the indications for where they're like where they're falling on the figure. So this leg, so this is the top of the knee, which is right here, which is moving in like this. This leg is coming like this. Their ankle is right here on the other side of that line, and their foot is going to be like out here somewhere. So this is capturing that foot, that side. The other side is just on the inside of this point. So like if this is where this ankle is, it's just above the other ankle, which is going to be right here. This is the central point. This foot is right here. This leg is going to come over, in, And it's going to measure out like that. So that's kind of giving me the basic idea for what their leg is doing. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of commit to this notion that I have right here. So I'm going to move the picture out of the way. I need to actually see what their body's doing. So I'm not going to have the photo in here for a while because I took off the tape. But that way I can see what's actually happening. So their ankle is right here. I'm getting confused about where these dots are again because I've already put several. So that is one dot. That's another dot. That's another dot. And this is the final. Okay, so that was good. Okay, so then this is where their ankle is, just on the other side of the line. It moves up, it curls around, and then joins the bottom of their knee, curls up, and then from here it's going to move in, and that's the outside of that part of their leg. And then I move across the ankle, the outside of their, I think I'm drawing this too thick. We have slender legs. That goes like that, the inside of the line, this muscle is right there, and that is right there. The foot, I'm going to measure their foot from ankle to where the shoe starts is right there. So it goes out like this, and then the shoe comes out at a point, something kind of like that. Okay, then their penis right here. Okay. The stocking starts at the level of their penis. It moves up. I think that's right. Their legs are narrow, so it's like you can see between this leg and the other leg just this narrow band of light. This knee is considerably above. I'm going to put the tape back on so that we can. Okay. Okay, so this knee is considerably above the other knee. It's quite narrow here as well. It moves in. This is going to be the width of their stocking. The back of their calf is right here. Let's see. Their ankle is almost even with the other ankle. Right there. So this is their ankle. Their ankles are quite skinny. So it's going to go like this. And then their foot, I'm going to worry about their feet later. So their feet are like right there. So that's got me, oh, that looks great. So that's their, the figure so far. So now I'm going to finish the hips, hips and stomach area. So let's see here. So I'm going to draw with the with my picture out of the frame again because I need to take off the tape, and I don't want to get in trouble with whoever. So this needs to rise up, and I'm going to start thinking about shadows. Okay, so there's a line of shadow that moves up their leg, out and in. So I literally draw, I'll go ahead and show that to you really quick. So it's like, I literally draw the line around the edge of the shadow. Because like this is a shape right here, a shadow shape, and this is a light shape. So I want to think about those shapes in really concrete terms. So it's like everything on this side is a shadow, everything on that side is in light, even if it's subtle, because this person is pretty pale. And, but I'm going to go ahead and throw in a shadow, with a very pale shadow with the side of my pencil right up to that line, that's going to fill in this whole space. And there's more light up there on their stomach. Right there. Okay? So now I'm going to think about their stockings. I'm going to use yet another color for their stockings. I think I'm going to use purple. I'm going to use a purple for their stockings because they have purple stockings and it looks really beautiful. So I use really sharp pencils for the most part. So I'm going to go ahead and sharpen this up and draw the outline of that stocking. Because basically for now I'm going to draw everything above the stocking. Goes around. This comes straight out. Okay. And the stocking will be the last thing that I work on in legs. Okay, so coming back here, I'm going to start really committing my lines. So there's the angle of this hip is just so pretty. Like that part's really fun to draw. It's so exaggerated, which I really like. Okay, so that has me the edge of this body, and now I'm going to think about the shapes of the shadows inside. So it's like this is all a solid shadow shape, but within that there's more shadow shapes, and I think about them the same way as like shapes. I don't want to get too carried away. Like I don't want it. It's like you have to be really subtle, otherwise your figure starts to break apart. Like if I draw this too dark, it'll draw attention to itself. For example, the shadow that's where the leg is turning around. I'm sorry I can't show you the photo at the same time, but I don't want to get in trouble with the nudity. So I'm just putting these very light, subtle shades to capture the movement of muscle across this side of their body. I'm going to put a touch of shadow core right there. And I'm going to erase just a touch on this side of their leg. This captures where their thigh meets their hip. A little touch right there. And then a touch of erasing on their rib cage on the side right there. That's all they really need. Okay. Now, there's a shadow under their stomach. I'm going to show you the photo again. Okay, so you can see this shadow right there. Like all of these shadows that I'm drawing are very delicate. I think there's a common tendency for artists who are starting out to kind of exaggerate that kind of shadow, but you want it just to be so sensitive and so delicate, because otherwise it's going to feel, well, it'll be inaccurate, but it'll feel harsh in a way it's just not. Okay, and now I'm going to come in with black. Which is really just to kind of make this part of their body pop. Okay, so that's pretty much their hips. So now I'm going to work on their legs, and after that it'll be almost done. So I decided that I'm going to do their legs with purple. So I'm going to switch to the purple, and it'll be mixed a little bit with the brown. So let's see. First of all, I am ready to commit to shadows and the outlines. So, oh, I'm going to go ahead and put the tape back on, and you can look at the photo again. There. Okay. So let's lay this on top. And okay. So I'm committing to more delicate lines than I had been doing earlier. And harder lines. Okay, so the first thing I'm doing is outlining it. If you notice my line, I run from light to dark. I use a lot of variety in my line. It's not a solid, thick, dark line. Okay, so that's gives me the outline of what I'm going to be doing here. And now I'm going to start thinking about the shadows. Okay, so the first thing is I'm going to draw this right here. Actually, the first thing I'm going to do is lay in the whole thing with the purple, like give it a purple wash. So that means I need to draw the shape of the foot, and then I'll worry about the shoe later. Okay, so now I'm going to give it a purple wash to, because I think what I'm going to probably do is do a combination of brown and purple. Because if I just drew purple by itself, it's going to feel like two different drawings. You need to like pull what you have in other sections of the drawing into this section so that it all feels cohesive. But I'm going to start with the purple wash. I think what I'm probably going to do is come back in later and put white paint or pastel for the highlights on their legs. My dog goes crazy every time the doorbell rings. She's going to be losing it for a while. Sorry about that. Okay. So that's like the first layout. So now I'm going to use the same brown of the skin to lay in the shadows. So when I do that, I'm thinking about the shadows, like I'm drawing the outline of the shadow, you know? So it's like, it comes in like this, it comes up. So I'm gonna like go over that darker. And I'm using the brown of their skin from above to kind of like pull it together. So it comes in, and then this whole area down here is in shadow. Like that, okay? And then the other side, there's a shadow, a pronounced shadow on this side of their leg, which is basically joins with that shadow up there. Their penis casts a shadow. It moves in right here, and then this whole side is in shadow. Okay. Now I'm going to start thinking about really finishing it. So that was like a map of what their legs are doing and the shadows on their legs are doing. So now I'm going to go ahead and work it up. So first of all, there's this dark area where the stocking turns over. going to use black for the shadows on the shadow side. And then there's a somewhat lighter tone underneath. So I'm going to darken the dark. And lighten this area, and that's going to give me the effect that the original has. And with black in the shades. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and once and for all just go ahead and add a black line on the shadow side of this leg. There. Okay, and it's the same thing on the other side. This is going to be quite dark. I'm going to outline that. It's less dark just underneath. Okay. And I'm going to outline this with and in fact, I think I'm going to go ahead and pull some purple into the brassiere or something because it's feeling a little out of place. So I think I'm going to make their lace more purple to help me. I'm feeling a little like it's feeling a little isolated, what I'm doing down on the bottom. There. Okay. So now I'm going to really go in for the shadows on their legs. So down here it's quite dark. And then I'm going to add black to the darkest parts of these shadows. At the moment, to be honest, I'm not sure what I'm doing. Like I've never used this particular color of colored pencil before, and it's a little more intense than I was expecting. So I'm trying to like tone it down. Okay. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to draw the other leg. So I'm going to start by doing the same thing I did on the other side, which is darkening the whole areas that I feel are in shadow. So it's like all of this is definitely in shadow.
Ahora es más musical, más armónico.
looks pretty good. And now I'm going to go over that with black. So this area of their leg, along the top of their foot, and especially this area is the darkest. So I'm going to go over that with a lot of black. This area is really dark, where the back leg is casting a shadow. Go over that with a lot of black. It's quite dark in here. It's like it moves between the legs and there's a lot of cast shadow there. And I'm going to give it a shadow core along the middle, right there. That looks good. So this is the figure so far. I feel like this purple is a little intense, so I'm going to have to pull it into elsewhere in the drawing. And now I'm going to go ahead and draw the shoes, and I'm going to put a touch of color in the background, and then I'm done. So unfortunately this shoe is cut off. I can't really tell what's going on exactly. Okay, and now this purple is just like really intense. So I'm going to add an intense purple to their brassiere because it's like, it was more intense than I was expecting. I need to pull it together. So I'm going to put some hard lines along the edge of the brassiere. I actually don't even need the original anymore. I'm basically done with the original. But I think that these hard lines on the brassiere, which I quite liked how subtle it looked before, but what I did with the stockings really like created a different effect than I was expecting. And so now I need to like kind of darken that. Yeah, that helped a lot. So now it's like the stocking and the brassiere kind of match each other. Okay, so now the last thing I'm going to do is give it a background. So let's see. I'm going to look at the original drawing again and kind of copy a little bit what was happening there. So there's a shadow moving on the floor. Just a little bit right there. And I am going to add just a little bit of shadow to the light side to kind of make it pop. Not very much, but a little bit. So this is just kind of to ground the figure. You know, it's like it's like I want the figure to feel like it's integrated into the page and not just floating on the page. So like these are to help give it a feeling of, and it also helps to pop it. So it's like the shadow side feels more, I'm sorry, the light side is given contrast by what's going on when I'm doing, you know, behind the figure. I think that's enough. It looks pretty good. So this is it. Thank you very much, and goodbye.